So yeah, here's a few things that should be noted about season 2, episode 6 of Vikings, entitled Unforgiven. So we start off with Siggy, talking with the seer, and she pretty much admits that she still holds a shitload of resentment towards Ragnar for not only her position so far, in life being the girlfriend of Rollo, but also for the murder, of her husband. And she feels as though, pretty much I'm paraphrasing what she's saying, but she feels as though there's like a stone inside of her, and she keeps on weighing her down, and she can't lift it up. She keeps on asking the seer pretty much, um, have I lost favor with the gods? Is there any chance I can gain their favor back somehow, some way? In the future, the seer says the gods always look fondly, on women. So we got that pretty much out the way. So another thing that happened in this episode, we see Bjorn pretty much having his first little teenage love affair, or crush on a slave named Parin, I believe if I pronounce it correctly. We also learned this episode in regards to Horik, King Horik and what was left of his men from Wessex along with his son. They show back up. They tell Ragnar that King Epric's men basically, decimated the majority, of his men, and that he wants revenge on King, Egbert, obviously. Ragnar asks what about Athelstan, and he said if Athelstan was lucky, he died in battle, but besides that, he was a worthless individual, which, as you can clearly see on Ragnar's face, pissed him off a bit. You have Bjorn reflecting on Athelstan, his time with him season 1 and the first episode season 2, saying that him and his sister grew to love Athelstan, but Floki's like, nah, fuck Athelstan. He was a Christian. He never denounced his Christian God for our God, so fuck him, pretty much. Don't even rest in peace. So Ragnar looked at Floki with like a little bit of a brief look of Jesus Christ, So King Orc pretty much acted Ragnar to, despite the fact that Jarl Borg attacked his village, killed a good portion of his people in the village, and this whole little warfare they had like at least, I'm assuming like at least a week, probably 2 weeks earlier, that him just to take him back, we needed ships, Ragnar gave him that look, Floki gave him that look, Rollo, Aslar, they're like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Hell, even Aslar went literally whispering Ragnar's ear, don't do that. That you can't do that. After all he did his family, your village, so it was just really funny and hilarious that Horik had the gall really to say that. But he is king. So Rollo pretty much, volunteers to try to negotiate a deal with Jarl Borg, which King Horik agrees to since he, kind of slyly says that he knows him better, that Rollo knows Jarl Borg better than anyone. And he kind of smirks at Ragnar saying, what do you say? And Ragnar's giving that look like, if you wasn't caring, I would punch you, break your nose and shit. So we have the scene pretty much with Lagertha returning, and she pretty much gets verbally stripped down by her drunken husband, Earl Sigvard, in which he says pretty much she doesn't love him, that it was an insult to his honor when she came back but left his stepson behind at his father's, at Ragnar's place, mocking Ragnar's claim that he's descended from Odin, and vice versa, and she pretty much defends Ragnar's honor, and when he's tried to strike her this time, Lagertha stood back up like, I wish a nigga would, and he pretty much says that, I'm gonna go, you can sleep in the room alone tonight, I got other activities, other plans, pretty much I got other girls, screw you, at least for the night. So Lagertha's in the bed and she gets jumped by, definitely you can tell those are men sent by Earl Sigvard, and they just go to town on her with some fucking sticks or clubs or whatever. But she was doing pretty nicely, despite getting taken down by like at least 12 dudes, to her, just with herself. She KO'd a few dudes. I swear there's some black eyes, whatever. She was kicking ass like Lagertha does, but eventually the numbers game got to her. So, yeah, after that, we have a little bit of a really good scenes with Athelstan and King Egbert. Athelstan is sort of regaining a little bit more of his, remember back he was a monk. Obviously, he was a monk. So King Egbert sort of rearing him in a little bit, sort of helping him sort of regain a little bit, the feeling. He has him doing a little bit of the artistry. Looking through some of the old little texts and all that good shit. So he has him and Atlas have this scene in which they're looking at Roman art, pagan art. He asks Elston, "What do you think of this art?" He's like, "I think it's beautiful." He said, "But it's pagan." Just to see pretty much how intelligent Elston is and if he's really worth all the hoo-ha, for his plan, which is said later in the episode, But Elston's like, you know what? He was a monk, he was like, say, I was a monk before, and I know you're, obviously you're a king, and that you've been to the court of Charlemagne, which I've been to. So you wouldn't know more than I would, and vice versa. These came from the Romans, Pretty much, these came from the Romans, but they were pagans, and pretty much Egbert goes like, yeah, you know what? My God, finally someone understands that in terms of knowledge and all this other stuff, that the Romans used stuff like this in order to take over the world pretty much. But people are so caught up in the Christian aspect of it, they don't realize how much knowledge, as a whole, the society has lost. Like literally as soon as the Roman Empire just went down the pooper, pretty much. So I believe there's another scene in which he pretty much tells Athelstan, listen, I got all these documents, they're written in Latin from the time of Caesar, the emperors, the empires, Roman Britannia, pretty much. I just want you to translate this. Translate all of them, so they last forever. But if you fuck my shit up, if you even think about letting them heathens know, or them idiots know, ignoramuses know anything about it, I'll crucify your ass. This time, I'll make sure they finish the deed, if you know what I'm saying. And the Assa's like, okay, I guess I'll keep my mouth shut, like he wasn't before anyways. He was too interested, But yeah, so Rollo's able to convince, Jarl Borg to, to join, to try to come to Kattegat and rejoin the ranks of Ragnar, pretty much. There was a powerful scene in which he said to Jarl Borg pretty much that, the difference between Ragnar and us is that we always want revenge. Ragnar wants something more. And there was also a scene in which, you have Jarl Borg literally talking to the head of his, deceased wife, like she was there. And even Rollo's like, dude, you have a wife right there, second wife. You're not showing her any respect. And it harkens back to a scene in which when they come on the boat, in which Jarl Borg is saying, I hope you're right, Rollo. And his second wife, Helga, I believe her name. I'll get it by the next review. Say, you know what? You should ask the wife, the skeleton, whatever. Which Rollo had a little bit of a little grin in his face, due to hilarity of that moment. But yeah, so pretty much Ragnar's able to convince Jarl Borg everything's good in the hood, pretty much. And then, turns out that Rollo and them, just went to town. They literally stuck Jarl Borg's men in a barn, burnt that shit to the ground. They beat the holy shit out of Jarl Borg and brought him to Ragnar and King Hork, and Ragnar pretty much says that I'm gonna draw a blood eagle on your back for trying to kill my family and my village. So yeah, man, that's pretty much what happened this episode. Besides Bjorn probably banging the slave girl Perun, Perrin, something, whatever. Because I'm pretty sure he did, But yeah, that's pretty much all that happened, besides with Lagertha stabbing her husband in the eye for being such an abusive asshole and revealing her boobs to everybody. And the dude, I forgot the dude's name, that cut her husband's head off. But that shit was, I must admit, that was an unexpected moment. But yeah, I'll have more to say about that, in the early parts of my next review for episode 8, entitled Boneless. But yeah, subscribe to my channel, write some comments down below. Thanks for watching my Vikings Season 2 Episode 7 review. Adios.